environmental degradation and the effects of climate change, and because of the attempt to control and curb China. Recently, there was this cover story in The Economist, published from London, and the title was China, the Scientific Superpower. And what did they say? That the old science order, dominated by the United States, Japan, UK, and the European Union, is now coming to an end. Out of the top 10 science and technology universities in the world, 6 are from China, led by Tsinghua University in Beijing, where Xi Jinping studied. And they also mentioned that when it comes to high-tech areas like in artificial intelligence, robotics, 5G, China is the leader. So this is the big picture in that regard. And also we are seeing this connectivity in our part of the world. Today, the Iranian foreign minister is here. Iran and China have signed an agreement for the next 10 years, a strategic partnership plan for $400 billion in the next 10 years, out of which $280 billion is about petroleum cooperation and $120 billion is about infrastructure development. Afghanistan and China. Afghanistan have already started construction of the Wakhan Corridor Road project. And if Pakistan and Tajikistan join in, we have 14 kilometers of the Wakhan Corridor. We can link up with Central Asia by road. And already the developments are taking place in Central Asia. The Pakistan, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan rail project, the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan pipeline, because India doesn't seem to be interested in that. So a whole new world is opening up based on connectivity and that green development. We have to take a very clear decision, because in Pakistan, and I'm glad a very competent person like Dr. Arfa is here, because the BOI is supposed to be the lead organization in special economic projects. But in the last 5 years, we have had 7 different chairpersons of the BOI. So you have had, and they're supposed to be focusing on that. And now the latest one is they have announced the Karachi Industrial Park being there. When I went to China as chairman of the parliamentary committee on CPEC, I asked them, I said, when you started off, what was the initial impulse? And they said that their great leader, Deng Xiaoping, the first country he went to learn from that experience was Singapore. They said, we want to learn from Singapore. How Singapore has developed. He made that tour in 1978. If those of you who read books, please read the book of Lee Kuan Yew, From Third World to First World, where he recounts that conversation. And one of the first industrial parks in China was developed in China, in Suzhou, a city of China, with help of Singapore. It's still there, it's an industrial park. So that was the key element. For the future in Pakistan, we talk of industrial parks, we try to reinvent the wheel. I think there's also an issue of too many cooks spoiling the broth, because we have the SIFC, we have the CPEC authority, we have the planning division, then the planning commission, then of course the BOI. And I think Mustafa has given a good suggestion that empower them. But the important thing is slash the red tape. Remember, I was in China, Shanghai, having dinner with the mayor of Shanghai a few years ago, and I asked him, hypothetically, if I want to establish a company in Shanghai, and there are 25,000 already foreign companies, what should I do? Yeah, how long will it take? He said, Excellency, if your papers are in order, 48 hours. I said, which office will I have to go to? He said, you don't have to go to the office. You can do it from your hotel room, online. This is China, under the Communist Party of China. They've slashed the red tape. The second issue, of course, is of security. We're aware of that. And the third issue, I think, is also becoming an impediment in the development of Pakistan's economy or our economic relationship. I think the role of IMF. We have to be very clear. The IMF has placed certain strictures that certain kind of special economic zones have to be developed, and they cannot have the do's and don'ts. And I think that strategic decision has to be taken so these impediments are cleared. But Pakistan is today 21st century, it's the dawn of the Asian century. The global balance of economic and political and technology and science and innovation is moving from the west to the east. As Allama Iqbal had predicted, देख मशरक से उभरते हुए सूरज को देख, गरा ख्वाब चीनी संभलने लगे, हिमालय के चश्मे उभलने लगे, गया दौर सरमायादारी गया, तमाशा दिखा के इमादारी गया. So the dawn of the Asian century, Pakistan should be part of that. Asia is the happening place where China is playing a leading role along with other countries, and we should be part of that process. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Senator Mushahid Hussain, for highlighting how green development across the landscape is extremely significant. So thank you so much for interventions. I think with this, we can move towards the panel discussion. Again, very esteemed to have been joined by, I think, Dr. Arfa. A lot of recommendations are coming towards you, and what exactly is the BOI and the government of Pakistan also sort of thinking around the SEZs, and how do we actually go forward with them. And we're also very pleased to have been with us, His Excellency Mr. Wang, since he's also the chairman of Chinese Chamber of Commerce Industries in Pakistan. So looking after the entire Chinese private sector and how they're again engaging, and definitely Mr. Shakil Ahmed Rame, the CEO of IRED as well. So before coming to Dr. Arfa, so let us sort of hear from His Excellency Mr. Wang, like where do the Chinese currently stand, and what are some of the key sectors you do see happening or developments they actually want to see around the CPEC 2.0, and if there are any particular challenges that the Chinese would actually like to sort of highlight at this as well. So with this, over to you, Mr. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. It's a privilege to me to be here today at this significant gathering that comes at a pivotal moment in Pakistan development journey. And with the onset of CPEC Phase 2 and the recent successful visit of Chinese Premier and an urgent need for Pakistan to catalyze in industry development. We stand on the threshold of transformative opportunities for Pakistan's economy. This event is timely and important as it enables us to align on our collective focus on the next steps in the promising journey. Today, I am to highlight the transformative potential of special economic zones and their critical role in advancing sustainable development, and particularly within the context of the long-standing and strategic partnership between China and Pakistan. Our focus here today is not only on the economic dimension of SEZs, but on their role in shaping a sustainable, resilient industry landscape for Pakistan. SEZs on CPEC present an unparalleled opportunity to tackle our industry challenges, such as low productivity, limited technology innovation, and dependence on traditional sectors, while creating employment and growth avenue in newer and more sustainable sectors. First, let us reflect on China's experience with SEZs. China established the first SEZ in Shenzhen in 1918, transforming it from a small village into a global industry harbor and financial powerhouse. SEZs served as testing grounds for new economic policies, innovative trade practice, and openness to foreign investment. The zones spurred rapid industry growth, created millions of jobs, and helped reduce poverty, leading to what the world witnessed as the Chinese economic miracle. The key was integrated SEZs with a broad national strategy for industrialization and trade liberalization and infrastructure development as well. Today, China's SEZ model demonstrated how tailored incentives, world-class infrastructure, and invest-friendly policies can convert target areas into engines of economic growth. Moreover, China's commitment to green and sustainable practice has further elevated its development model, transferring SEZs into environmentally conscious harbors of economic progress. We envision a model of SEZs that aligns with the global development initiative championed by President Xi Jinping, which emphasizes inclusive, green, and innovation-driving growth. This vision calls for SEZs that not only generate economic benefits, but also exemplify suitable industry practices, becoming harbors for eco-friendly innovation and renewable energy adoption. This alignment with GDI allows Pakistan to play its part in the global push for a sustainable future while fulfilling our own economic aspirations. Pakistan now stands at a promising juncture with its SEZ on the CPEC, but has to address multiple challenges, which includes low productivity, reliance on traditional sectors, limited technology advancement, and the pressing need to create more jobs for a growing population. CPEC's SEZs, if strategically developed, has the potential to serve as the cornerstone for Pakistan's industrial rejuvenation, bring much needed diversification and modernization. By adopting the SEZ's model, Pakistan can enhance its industry capacity, introduce advanced technologies, and bridge gaps in our current industry framework. This approach will not only address the country's industry stagnation, but will also make our economy more resilient, dynamic, and competitive on the global stage. To make this vision a reality, Chinese companies are willing to collaborate with our Pakistan stakeholders to transfer technology and share the practice and invest in green industries by jointly focusing on the renewable energy project, waste management systems, and sustainable transportation within SEZs. We can ensure that these zones become hubs of green innovation, contributing to Pakistan's environmental growth while boosting its economy. So government is requested to facilitate this environment and allows financial and low financial for companies investing in renewable energy or pollution control measures. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, SEZs can be transformative for Pakistan, serving as catalyst for industry progress and sustainable economic development. We Chinese enterprises would like to work with our Pakistan partners on the CPEC to address Pakistan's industry challenges while embedding green practice at the core of our SEZs in alignment with the global development initiative. Together, Pakistan and China can build SEZ that not only boost our economics, but also set new standards in sustainable development. This journey will forge a legacy of responsible growth, shared prosperity, and a cleaner, more resilient future for generation to come. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
For highlighting the green model of the green SEZs of the and what China is exactly thinking about in some of the very key developments that you mentioned. I think that sets a very perfect scene for you as well, Dr. Arfa, because we fully understand that for the SEZs development, we do need some of the incentives, but with the IMF program, what we really need to sort of understand from you is how do you view the balance between providing attracting incentives to attract investment, ensuring sustainable economic growth for Pakistan's SEZ, especially again, given the IMF program? At what measures can be taken to ensure that these incentives remain effective or without compromising long-term fiscal sustainability as well? And how do we actually address this pressing challenge? And perhaps if you'd also like to sort of highlight some of the key developments that have been happening under the government. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. If you could please join us on the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very, very important topic, very interesting topic. I will not touch upon the bigger picture as the earlier speakers have very eloquently touched upon, like Senator Mushahid Hussain Saab, Mustafa, and Hassan Daud Butt Saab. So I will skip that part of the bigger picture and connecting the dots. I will straight away come to Pakistan, which has now embarked upon CPEC 2.0. And we have to quickly see the SWOT analysis. And Dr. Hassan Daud Butt gave a very elaborate SWOT analysis to me, a very brisk SWOT analysis. What are the strengths? CPEC is our strength. Our labor is our strength. Geopolitical location is our strength. Weaknesses are weak institutions, gaps in the planning, faulty implementation plans. These are the weaknesses. Opportunity is the flying geese model, the flying geese economic model now prevalent across the globe is the opportunity. And what are the threats? The main threat to me are the wrong narratives about CPEC. The wrong perceptions about CPEC are the threats. So let me talk about the opportunity a little bit more, because then we have to see how SEZs can play an instrumental role to capitalize on the opportunity. So flying geese model, the simply put is that there is one leading goose and then the others join the flock. So we are the latecomers. So this is the latecomer advantage. We generally hear about the first mover advantage, but flying geese model is the latecomer advantage. The countries, the developing countries are the latecomers and they can join the flock. This countries like Japan in 1960s, when they shed off their industries, Asian tigers picked them up. And when Asian tigers shed off the industry, China picked them up. Now China is shedding off the industry. This is the concept when you keep on hearing about relocating industry from China. This is the thought behind. So now China breaking the income trap, it is now a capital intensive country, is shedding off the labor intensive industry. Countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos are all picking it up, Bangladesh picking it up. We have to see how Pakistan can place its domestic market in a position to pick those shedding off labor intensive industries from China. SEZ, a tool, an instrument for that. China used that tool when it started off its economic development in 1980s. So it started off with 4 pilot economic zones. Those were not called special economic zones, but economic zones. Actually speaking, the idea, the concept of SEZ is earlier than that. So Europe actually followed it. In US, we also have economic zones. They're not called SEZs, but the concept is there that they have places, the designated places where special packages are given. business conducive environment is provided so that businesses can flourish. China actually took it up vehemently during its development. And now, when it's shedding off its labor intensive industry, all the companies picking those industries up have operational economic zones. So, coming to Pakistan, we also have economic zones. We have 9 economic zones under CPEC, and we have multiple other zones as well, economic zones, which are outside CPEC. We have public sector SEZs, we have public private PPP model, we have private sector SEZs. In private sector, we have multi sectoral SEZs, we have single sector SEZs. Or single enterprise SEZs. So we have all these different models. I agree with Mustafa when he said this is now the time for businesses to come up. So from G to G, we moved on to G to B, and now is the time for B to B. China is also following, and China is not following it. Actually, China has set the plan in place, and in the recent policy plannings in China this year, the focus is more and more on private equity funds and private companies now. Mr. Wang will bear me out that SOEs in China's are now markedly being privatized. So many of the SOEs, the leading SOEs in China, the state-owned enterprises are now hugely, a large percentage of shares is with the private sector. So that is now going to be applied in Pakistan as well. Coming to our economic zones precisely, and I also, by the way, agree with Mustafa saying that, the rhetoric is no more there. The concept of CPEC was based upon the rhetoric of Pak Chin Dosti. But now we have moved on. And now we need to have more solid economic development plans in place if we want to take it further, because the rhetoric will not take us any further anymore. So SCZ's performance, here I do not agree with some of the speakers. SCZ's performance, if not ideal, in Pakistan, it has not been dismal as well. Let me share with you a few steps that Pakistan government has taken very recently vis-a-vis SCZs. The largest survey, field survey of SCZs has been done recently by BOI and SIFC, and we are now compiling the results. The economic zones, as I said, are not as dismal as they are generally portrayed. Yes, we have gaps. I will not say the economic zones have really done wonders, no. But the stage is set. CPEC phase 1, by providing infrastructure, has set the stage. And now we are in a position to utilize our economic zones in a better way to lead us to industrialization, which is the gap between CPEC phase 1 and phase 2. This is where we see that the economy overall in Pakistan is not impacted positively by phase 1. Why? Because industrialization is not there. Why? Because private sector has not tapped in. So we need to now focus more and more on our economic zones. Dr. Hassan Daud said, is this, what did he say? The question was, are they really special for us? And the reply is yes, because this is the international best practice. Because specifically in countries like Pakistan, where there is resource constraint, we cannot provide the business conducive environment across the country. So we need to have silos, we need to have centers of excellence. And the second thing, Dr. Daud said, desire versus capacity. Yes, I agree. We do not have the capacity today. So what? As Senator Mushahid Hussain mentioned, China didn't have the capacity. So when they had Suzhou Industrial Park, they invited Singapore to come invest, plan, design, and operationalize it. And it's still there. And today they have thousands of economic zones actually. Today, they have thousands of economics. They have China, they have CADS, China Association of Development Zones. Only development zones can be the members of that association, and they have thousands of members at the state level, at the province level, at the local level. But they didn't have the capacity then. So today, if Pakistan doesn't have the capacity, it does not matter. We can borrow the capacity on the condition that we then make them function. We then operationalize them. How to operationalize them? So a few leading points. We have actually already identified the vacant land in our existing SEZs. I'm not talking about any new SEZs. I'm talking about only the existing SEZs. So we already have now, by our survey, identified the vacant land in our SEZs. One-stop shop law is already in the Senate so that we can provide the business conducive environment to the investors who come to these SEZs. So they don't have to go from one place to another for NOCs, for registrations, for licenses, for permits. No, they should go to one place and get everything that they need in the stipulated time period. This will be done by our OSS, and as I said, the law is already in the Senate. It will be approved pretty soon, inshallah. Then we need to work. I'm not saying we have already worked. We need to work on providing the digital invisible security in these SEZs and the foreign investors and the foreign investment. We need to have the special package for banking channels so that the foreign currency-based transactions become conducive and easier for these foreign investors, because our law allows that all the foreign investors can take out their capital, their dividends, their profits outside Pakistan. The law allows that. We need to have the implementation mechanism in place. We need to promote more and more joint ventures. For that, BOI actually has 29th. It was on fisheries. These are sector-wise. Today, actually, we have our second roadshow in Guangzhou, which is on leather. Then on 25th of November, we have our third roadshow in Beijing. This is on animal fodder and fruits and vegetables. The next one on 5th of December is in Suzhou. It's for textile. And then there are two more, one towards the end of December and one in January, which are in two other sectors. So the 7 sectors that we identified, we are having these road shows, and we are pretty hopeful that joint ventures as a result of these road shows will contribute considerably to our export-oriented manufacturing, export-oriented products, which will be how the joint ventures will be housed in our special economic zones. And we also are aware of doing our sector prioritization following our comparative advantages and endowment factors under new structural economics regime. Another important point is we want to connect our SEZs with STZs because technological advancement is a must. Also connecting with today's topic, green economy, green funds, green energy. So the whole ecosystem has to be green because the future is for carbon credits. With this kind of population that Pakistan has, we cannot survive without earning carbon credit. So we are planning to connect our SEZs with SDGs and focus more and more on green technology. So this is in crux that I wanted to share with you. And at the end, I would say, I've been hearing about IMF conditionalities. So IMF said phasing out. They did not say discontinue SCZs, EPZs, all benefits, all incentives. No, they did not ask for discontinuation. And phasing out is but normal, also part of the international best practices. So Shenzhen, which was just mentioned, a 30,000 population fisheries village, now one of the biggest, most advanced cities of the world, not China. And China is now not offering any incentive in Shenzhen because it is now on its feet. As I just mentioned, there are thousands of economic zones, not SEZs, economic zones, and now they have moved towards free zones, thousands of them in China. But the incentives in the order of priority are decreased at the central level and then the state level, very minimum. The incentives are now moved actually within China towards Xinjiang and towards center more than the coastal cities. They started off with the coastal cities. So phasing out of incentives is not a new phenomena. Pakistan will also survive that, provided again that we focus on our operationalizing of our SEZs and we plan prudently. And we are in the process of doing it. And there are 2 or 3 other things which I will not be sharing today, but you will soon be hearing about some very good progressive things about our economic zones, which are under planning. And I'm very hopeful that those steps will yield very good results for Pakistan, for SEZs. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Arfa, for giving us the hope and giving us a very proper roadmap on what needs to be done. And Dr. Arfa has also done a lot of course correction for the SEZs and addressing the themes that we have been talking about. So I believe Shakil Ahmed Ramesa will sort of continue with the same spirit. So if I can request the MIS team to please share his presentation and invite Shakil Ahmed Ramesa. And after this, we'll be going towards a very quick round of recommendations from panelists, Mr. Mustafa Saab, Mr. Wang, and Dr. Arfa, and then we'll be concluding with the chief guest remarks from and concluding remarks from Senator Mushahid. So yes, over to you, Shakil sir.
Thank you, Abed. Although you are messing me up for 1 hour, you are next speaker. You are thinking I was running away. No, I am not. You don't have to do that. Another thing, ma'am, sorry, I'm talking after you because I have to talk about the challenges. You have talked about the solutions already, the government side. So it is a misunderstanding or something, a mispreparation. I don't need to talk about after you. But being, I have to do it, so I will do it now. So before going for the challenges, I just want to highlight 3 things. Number 1, Pakistan need to move beyond the rhetoric. We are still stuck in the rhetoric. Deeper than sea, higher than mountain, sweeter than honey. That is our total understanding. Second, we are stuck in the era before 1998, when China launched their Go Global policy. We don't understand what happened after that. What is China today? We are still stuck there. Number 3, there is a big paradigm shift. In past, used to be when the new president of USA comes, so China prepare for that. But this time the new president have to prepare for the China. This is a big paradigm shift happening in the world. And that is also guide for us to take on the things. Now I will quickly come to my presentation. These are the challenges which also I presented to the different government bodies at different times. Number 1, chain of command. As Mushahid Saab was talking about, there are so many fathers and mothers of the CPEC and investment in Pakistan. You talk to anybody, they will tell they are the person to talk. If you don't talk to us, you cannot move forward. And it happened. If somebody is, another ministry is taking an initiative, some other ministry will create problems. Second, buck passing. Oh, that is not my job. I have written on the file is going to other secretary, then other secretary, then another secretary. At the end, still the buck passing. And then we say, we are the good, we have cleared the file. We have genuine objections. 3, layers of institutions. Multiple layers of institutions. And I spoke, there are so many fathers and mothers. And the most recent example is SIFC. If you have to create SIFC with the present structure, what is to have the use? Same facilitation was doing the BOI. What you are doing different? And the use of SIFC, I will quote Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in the last meeting of SIFC. After that meeting, he said Saudi Arabia want to invest in Pakistan, but we don't have bankable feasibility. That was quoted in newspapers, not my statement. You can go to the newspaper That's mean in 2 years, we could not produce a bankable feasibility study. What other institutions are doing? Number 4, scattered work. Something is happening at, for example, tax. There are almost 35 different tax agencies and departments in Pakistan. Some are federal, some are provincial, some are district. And even in some cases, the provinces have different tax policies. I'm not going to detail. Number 4 is lip service. We are the best. You talk to me, I can give you the solution from Pakistan to the world. But when you talk to me about your strategy, some solid document, you are not. I give you one example. These are the last days of General Asam Salim Bajwa, when he was the chairman of CPEC Authority. I was working there, not employed, just to help them, assist them independently. My friend from Germany, he was the chairman of German SME Association. If you understand Germany, their SMEs are the most strong part of their economy. I spoke to them, why you don't invest in Pakistani SEZs? He said, let's have a meeting. I organized a meeting with them. He asked simple question, first question. For Germany, the whole world is open. There's a Mexico, there's a Vietnam, there's a Brazil, there's a Philippines, there are a number of countries are there. If I ask some SME to invest in Pakistan, what competitive advantage you have? Your SEZs have from the other SEZs of the world. In the world right now, more than 5,000 SEZs are here in the world. So what comparative advantage you have? Believe me, there was no study. And there was only small document from PIDE, Research Institute on CPEC, and that was only 10, 15 pages. It does not qualify to be a comparative study. You have a dedicated research center for CPEC for 12 years. If Hassan Daud Saab is listening to me, he has to answer because he was negotiating the SEZs when program started, not we. He should not ask this question to us, either these are special or not. He should answer to us, either these are special or not. So still we don't have comparative study. What we have to sell to the world? If you have, ma'am, you can correct me. If there is any comparative study of Pakistani SEZs with the world, if I'm wrong, please correct me. And the security, don't need to talk much. And the wrong man for the right job. Again, SIFC. What was our problem? Red tapeism, bureaucracy, and you stuff the SFC with the bureaucracy with the journals. I don't doubt their intentions, but the problem is if they cannot produce a bankable feasible study in 2 years, how many years they will take? Their prime minister is telling this, not I am telling this. And is openly telling it's quoted in the newspapers. If you have to create this one, make it a very strong organization with a decision-making power, with the implementation power. SIFC don't have these powers. They cannot dictate anybody to do anything. They can just suggest. BOI is more powerful than SIFC in the legal terms. So you have to come up with a better plan. Now we can learn from China very quickly. China did 3 things primarily in the beginning. If we start with the Shenzhen case study, they gave them the financial autonomy to make decisions. They gave them the investment autonomy to make investment decisions, and they gave them the trade decisions. And you must be astonished to know that a small village of Shenzhen was given the equal rights to the provincial capital. Why? Because they have to develop that part of the country, that part. Later on, that province, the province was given the authority to make the policy and implement independently, only responsible to the CPC leadership at the top level. No the hip and if and buts there. I'm talking quickly, we can talk it very in detail, okay, what these are. And there was only one father, one mother. who are deciding the decision, taking the decision. And they appointed the most powerful person and the learned person, the father of President Xi Jinping, the first Deputy Prime Minister of China. I am true? Is it right, sir? He was appointed at the head of that special that province. He fought this case and established that. So these are a few fundamental. There's no rocket science, not at all. There are a few fundamentals. And they give them these authorities. And more, I was reading the case study of Shenzhen. Their local governments play a leading role. Even their local governments were giving them their the services in the tax matters, in designing the programs. Their local government is very strong. In Pakistan, where is the local government? So these are the fundamental things they did. If we don't do that, remember, there are so many competitors. 1.5 years ago, I said Afghanistan will be competitor. People laughed. Today, Afghanistan is a serious competitor. These are the regional and nearby. Then we have the global competitors. If we don't act, there are so many people who can act. There are 153 members of Belt and Road Initiative, not only Pakistan. That's why I say Pakistan to move beyond the China rhetoric and post 1998 era. In the end, these are the problem with Pakistan side. But for the green transition, when we talk about, I think China should give time to Pakistan, because every country, they have different dynamics and the level of the development for the green transition. And Pakistan should be very mindful, not only China, but any other donor or any other country is talking to us. According to our own circumstances, development level, we can do the green transition. Like I give one more example from China. There was a theory, they say, first enhance the capacity of production, then go for the opening up. What we are doing, we are opening up first, and we're not talking about the production capacity. The same is true for the green transition. Where we stand, we should follow the domestic agenda. At what level we are. China should also understand Pakistani development status. One thing, and second thing, China should also give us space when our business community is talking to them. Our business is not at their par. They're the rich companies. They're the big companies. Pakistan have companies with less capital, less human resources. So China should try to compensate us there. Because we have also relationship, okay, it's the economy. Then if it is the economy, only economy is CPEC is the only economy, then Pakistan can make decision on the competitive basis from all sources. But if we are working to make it successful, maybe Pakistani business community also needs some space. Thank you so much.
So I'll be just requesting each one of them to just give us just 2 quick bullet points or recommendations, again, to some of the challenges that Shakil Saab has highlighted, and also some of the key points around the development of SEZ. So starting with Mustafa Saab, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ved. I think one point is, which I mentioned in my speech, is an SEZ authority or institution which is fully empowered and autonomous. So it is not impacted by change in successive governments, as Senator Mushahid said, change in chairman of Board of Investment, etc. Should be autonomous and empowered and can cut through red tape, and it should be backed by legislation and the parliament to take strong, difficult decisions and bold decisions. And the tenure and the chairperson of this SEZ body should be fixed, as is in NEPRA, and no one should be able to change it for political reasons. Second is the SEZs should be smart SEZs and safe SEZs. I think this is a real concern for investors, particularly Chinese investors. Security is the biggest impediment in future investments, in my perspective, more than other factors. Security is the major impediment. So it should be smart and safe SEZs, which are digital, like they are in Shanghai and Pudong. We have the SEZ there. They're all digital, smart and safe SEZs. And the first is empowered and autonomous SEZ institution.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Mustafa Saab. Coming to Excellency, Mr. Wong, if you have any key policy recommendations, 2 pointers that you would like to give at this point, please. Yeah.
Okay, so today we're talking about the SEZ. So why we call it a special economic zone? I think just because the policy, the environment of this zone is different with the normal zones. So with this different or special policy or measures, it will attract more investors. But from the point of investors, so what is the consensus they are they're considering? For example, for me, from the Chinese enterprises, the first issue, as you mentioned, is the security, yeah, for our Chinese enterprises, and the second consensus is about the tax or the stability of the policies and so on. So with this policies under the special economic zone, if all the policy is settled, it will attract more and more investors. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Arfa, if you would like to highlight any final recommendations or points from your end as well.
Talk, it was more of like all the solutions. If you still want, at the cost of repetition, I would briefly say, number one, we need to have appropriate, affordable land prices in SEZs. Number two, one-stop shop for the business facilitation. Number three, smart digital security. Number four, prioritized sectors. So we need to focus on labor-intensive sectors in our SEZs, traditional manufacturing units. And finally, connection with technology zones to have a green ecosystem.
Yes,
Thank
thank you. Thank you so much. So Shakil Saab, yeah, any final points from your end, please?
Quickly, we need to have a right person for the right job. One thing, and second thing, we have to create a balance between privatization and the state-owned enterprises. This is a wrong liberal economic venture like that, everything privatized. Ultimately, states become the victim. Like USA have to print $5 trillion after the COVID-19 because they don't have the money, but a private company have the money. So we need to create a balance.
Yes, thank you so much. So thank you so much to all the very important recommendations. With this, let me invite again Chief Guest, Senator Mushahid Hussain, for final concluding of the session. Yeah.
And what Mr. Wang said very rightly, it's a pivotal moment. Government should facilitate the environment, focusing on security and continuity of policy. And what Mustafa said is correct, that the CPEC now 2.0 is making the transition from G to G to B to B, where economic considerations are going to be paramount. And when Arafa was speaking, I was reminded of Chairman Mao's saying, women hold half the sky. So you are holding more than half the sky. She's given the roadmap, Qingdao, Suzhou, Guangzhou, Beijing, and all these road shows. I think it's, the BOI has now finally been revived and rejuvenated, and good luck to you. And Shakil Ramesa was spot on when he said that the issue is too many cooks spoiling the broth, the chain of command, and especially it has to be a bottom-up approach, because the local government has been playing the paramount role in that regard. And those of us who feel capacity issues are there, I was reading this book, which all of you should read. It's a book by a former Chinese vice premier, Li Lanqing. It's called Breaking Through. He was one of the principal aides of Deng Xiaoping in the reform. And he says that when they started the reform in the 80s, 40 years ago, they went to 3 countries to learn from them. One was Singapore, where Deng Xiaoping went himself. Second was Philippines. Third was Pakistan. And Li Lanqing was then a DG level person, Arafa Sahaba, in the 80s when he came to Pakistan. And he said that we were asked to prepare feasibility reports and we were getting loans from the IMF. We didn't know how to do it. And we learned from the Pakistani bureaucracy then in the 80s. And he said Karachi port was an example of a model port with 2.6 million tons of tonnage being lifted, while Shanghai was 10% of that. So I think that it's doable. The willingness should be there with political vision and strategic clarity. And the future belongs to the region in this Asian century. And thank you. It was a great experience listening and learning to such eminent voices.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It has been a wonderful discussion. I really do think that if we may have time for taking any questions, but perhaps we would like to sort of conclude here. Let me request the panelists to please come on stage for our group photo and distribution of honorariums. Dr. Khalid, if I may please request you to join online at the stage as well. If we can first have a group photo. Yeah, please. Yeah. And if I may request organizers to join as well, Zainab, Babar, Sadia, Chatti, please join us on the stage as well.
Mustafa